Hello, Digital Archaeologist here. Today I'm going to show you how to edit your raw photos in Photoshop. Sometimes the photos we take aren't as clear as we would like them to be, or as you can see here, the background isn't as uniform. So I'm just going to show you a quick and easy way you can use to edit your photos without sacrificing the overall quality of the artifact itself. So let's get started. Now the first thing I like to do is change the clarity of my image because sometimes it's not as clear. Now as you can see here, it just increases the sharpness of your image. But you don't want to go too far, otherwise it's going to become grainy like that. So I just like to keep it around 60 or so, like that. And then the next thing I like to edit is the highlights and the shadows. Now the purpose here is just to make it look as realistic as possible. That's pretty good. And then the whites and blacks. I don't like it to look too shiny, but also not too matte. And the blacks. Now keep in mind we're going to edit the background later. And the vibrance and saturation just change the colors. So if you go too far, it's going to make it look a little unrealistic. And if you have a color bar, this is a good time to match it to your colors. And that's pretty good. So now I'm going to open it in Photoshop. Now as you can see here, I have a scale in the bottom, and I don't want to lose this scale when I change the background. So I'm just going to place a scale that I have already made that's a little nicer. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make the scale the exact same size as the scale in the image. So I'm just going to hold down Shift and transform it. And just get it as close as possible. I like to line it up with one square and then see. And that's pretty good. So I'm going to click OK and then just move it into the bottom left corner. And then I'm going to click this eye, which will make it invisible for now. Now I'm going to edit my background. Now the first thing you want to do is make sure this little lock is off. So I'm going to double click OK. Because if it's on, it's not going to let you delete the background. So the next thing I'm going to do is select this magnetic lasso tool. And I'm going to zoom in a little so you can see. Now, the beauty of this tool is that it snaps to the edges and it lets you select a more crisp edge. So now I'm just going to select around my artifact as close as possible. Keep in mind that we can go back and refine the edge using the Refine Edge tool, which I will show you after. And if you make a mistake, just click Delete, and it will delete your point. I'm just going to go ahead and select around my artifact. Now this is the most tedious part of the process, but if you do it right, it really pays off. And some edges are easier to select than others, especially if there is high contrast between the two edges. Now the reason why you don't want to paint around your artifact is that it's going to create unnecessary opacity issues, like you might have, and you might not be able to get as close as you would like to the edge of your artifact, like I am here, and creating a nice crisp edge. Now this process isn't always that accurate, but that's okay because we can go back and fix it. Okay, we're almost done. And then I'm going to join the two dots at the end. Okay, our image is selected. And now I'm just going to, with the lasso tool selected, right click, refine edge. And as you can see, it's showing what we've selected. And now we can change some things. So it allows you to shift the edge of what you've selected and change the radius. So if you selected too little, you can always change that. And then it also allows you to smooth out the edges as well. I just like to do that a little. So if you do it too much, it's going to make it look fake. And you never want to touch this feather tool because it's just going to make it look really unrealistic. So I never touch that. And contrast as well, it will just make it look kind of like a cartoon. Okay, that's pretty good. So I'm going to press OK. And now I'm going to select the background. So to do that, I right click and select inverse. And then I'm going to right click again and click fill. And it already has black selected for me. But if you wanted to do a white background, you can click white. So I'm going to go with black and OK. And as you can see, it's just created a nice uniform black background for me. And now I'm going to deselect. And now if you wanted to go back and change how your artifact looks, you can always do edit, undo, deselect, select inverse, refine edge, and then change that again. And then click OK. And deselect. Okay, that's pretty good. Now I'm going to make my ruler appear again. And depending on the standard you're using, it will ask you to write the artifact name or number in the corner. So I'm just going to call this 001. And then move it to the corner here. And also, if your artifact isn't in the right position, you can always just move it up and create a background layer. And then change it to black or white or whatever color you're using. And make sure that's at the very bottom. And there you go. Now we're going to flatten the image. So I'm just going to hold down Shift and select all of my layers. Right click and rasterize layers. Right click again. merge layers, and then flatten image. And as you can see, it's just created one image. Now I'm going to save my image, and I usually like to save the Photoshop file first. So I'm going to select Photoshop. I'll call this 001. Okay. And then following the chin standards, it asks you to save a TIFF file. So I'm going to select TIFF from this drop-down, save it as the same name. And if I had a folder, I would save it in that folder as well. Save. And it wants you to save an uncompressed file. So OK. And next, I'm going to save a JPEG file. And it asks you to save it at a specific image size. So I'm just going to change the size to 768 as the height. OK. File, save as, and JPEG. Save. And it likes you to have a low compression for chin. So I've selected 3. OK. Well, that's everything. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. Thank you, and I hope you have a good day.